Hello, and welcome back to Inside HMI. Joining us today for an in-depth interview, we have HMI instructor Mark Gravelle.
I thought I'd digress just a little bit.
Please.
Because I thought of something I wanted to share with you regarding the mother dying when I was 9 on Christmas Eve. When I first came here, my first session with Dr. John Kappas, I gave him a handwriting sample, because a full-page handwriting sample, okay? And so he looks at it, and he turns it upside down, you know, to find affected words and sentences. And in the paragraph where I actually wrote something to the effect, I'm still trying to look for that sample. I may have it somewhere. I wrote, I feel that my mother dying on Christmas Eve when I was 9 years old really did affect my attitude and outlook towards life, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. He pointed out to me that I had retrogressed, and that was my handwriting at 9. Interesting,
wow.
Isn't that?
Wow. So you were actually writing as your
as
9-year-old
though I were
self.
9.
That's very interesting.
It's an interesting concept, I think.
Yeah, how you
know.
can express that even as an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
So the last question, we didn't quite get to the end, I don't think. I don't know.
Oh, about your careers, your different careers?
No.
Was that the last one?
No, it was, did you think EMP?
Oh, how it affected your personal life?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us more.
Well, I think it's helped. I mean, I have been married 23 years now to the same woman, incidentally.
Good for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we would have made it without the EMP knowledge. I mean, she understands me and how different I am from her, and we do view, the beauty of the EMP is that it enables us to view our differences humorously and not taking things so personally. That's the real thing.
That's very important in relationships.
Yeah.
So now, Mark, we understand that you mentored personally under both Dr. John and Dr. Alex Kappas.
Right.
So can you tell us how that came about, and perhaps, you know, a little about those different experiences?
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I knew Dr. John Kappas long before I ever knew he was a hypnotherapist. Okay. I think I started working for Florence Henderson in 1986. May have been 85 even. And so he said, just call me John, you know. And I mean, my perception of him is this real nice guy who just stays to himself, who's very quiet, and accompanies Florence on all the gigs that we used to do. And we fly around the country and, you know, do a lot of gigs. And so I mean, I knew he was John Kappas, PhD, but I didn't know he was a hypnotherapist. So then finally, in 1988, we're doing one of those gigs. We did a gig in Atlantic City. And that's the kind of job where we did 4 weeks, which seemed like 6 months in Atlantic City. And finally, I talked to Dr. Kappas about going back to graduate school. I really wasn't aware of what hypnotherapy was, or that he was in effect a pioneer in the field. So he encouraged me to come and talk to George, and that was so long ago. It was in Van Nuys, and I enrolled, and that was 1988, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
So, and then he, in effect, did take me under his wing, and he gave me an incredible gift. And the gift was, he referred me clients to get started, and he helped me maintain those clients. I had the ability to call him, all right? And I would always call him and be very polite. Hi, John, do you have a few moments? I got to ask you about this client. And I would always record it, and I got a lot of recordings of those phone conversations. I could do that on the phone answering machine I had. And because I would have to listen to it 2, 3, 4, even 5 times before I got the concept he was talking about. Because this is a whole different learning process, a different thinking process. I came from a, if you will, a psychological background, when this is really a behavioral approach.
Right.
Okay, so the first couple of years, I practiced up until about 2000. I had that ability to talk to him and have him guide me. And, but then he kind of semi-retired. He wasn't around that much. And then I started seeing Dr. Alex Kappas. And he became my second mentor. Okay.
So, and you recorded the sessions with
Oh,
him
yeah.
as well. Is there any chance, do you think that HMI students will ever have a chance to listen to any of those recordings?
They already have.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did one class so far on the advanced techniques of Dr. Alex Kappas. And don't forget, I saw him for 10 years,
Yeah.
off and on for 10 years, okay? So I felt it was an incredible opportunity
Oh,
to totally pick
definitely.
his brain. And what he was brilliant in his own way because he expanded on all the things we know as the Kappasinian modality. So I share those things in a workshop, okay? And in the workshop, I actually play parts of my sessions with him explaining to me. And I can do that now, you know, but, and him hypnotizing me, a hypnosis session of how he did it. And boy, he had just an incredible way with giving suggestions, and terribly effective way of giving suggestions.
If you're able to describe that, how would you describe that?
Well, okay, here's how. I came in, I was involved in a project which has yet to be completed. I made up these things, and I have a, not a patent, but a trademark on a product called Answer One. And basically they're dowsing tools. But we can use them for idiomotor response to answer questions from our subconscious. It's the same idea as a pendulum, only these are aluminum rods suspended in an aluminum casing. And so you center them. There's even a video of me demonstrating these with students. And I somehow let the trademark deadline lapse, okay? And so I went into him, I said, you know, I did this, I'm not sure why I did it, can you explain it to me, okay? And I said, I don't know if it's fear of failure or fear of success, okay? And so that's what the tape is about and how he explains it to me. And then the suggestions he gave me after, you know, after the talk part of the session, after the cognitive part. And so I have the whole thing recorded. And we can all learn from this. See, when a client comes in and they undefensively say, can you help me with this? See, you want to reinforce that. That's what I learned from him. So the first thing he says after he counts me into hypnosis, and I'm a third stage somnambulist. In fact, he used to say, you're a fourth stage. That's how deep you go. But he said, the first thing I want you to do, Mark, is give yourself a mental pat on the back for bringing this up, right? For acting undefensively.
Yeah.
And now we're going to solve this problem. And the problem was fear of failure, okay? And fear of failure, people don't take the risks that they need to generate their success.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we will.
I would love to hear some.
Yeah, actually, I'm still looking for some additional tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find those.
I have a lot of them.
Ah.
Unfortunately, they're in my garage, and you know what that looks like. So.
Are you
That's another goal of mine.
clean out the garage?
Yes.
Are you able to remember your first client?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
That's an interesting question. I don't remember the details of it. But he was a person, somebody referred him to me. He owned a Shakey's Pizza Parlor in Ventura. That's what I remember about him. And another thing I remembered about him, I don't remember the specific, I mean, we're talking 21 years ago here, you know. And, but after the first session, you know, it's like, wow, he's coming back. You know, it's like that. Wow, what did I do right with him? You know, yeah, because you're confused, you know, about things when you see him. But the thing I remember about him was I took him, I did a staircase with him, right? And he came back the second time. He says, I don't like that staircase. Why don't you take me down an elevator? So I took him down an elevator. He suggested it.
Floor by floor by floor.
Yeah, 20, 19, 18, you know.
Wow, interesting.
Well, actually, you know something? I don't know if I should say this. I saw some clients outside here. A few. They were musicians who wanted help.
Sure.
Okay. One has become an extremely famous musician, as a matter of fact, and composer, writes for movies, and is a musical director for one of the most famous stars anywhere. So he wrote a string quartet arrangement for me.
Oh,
in lieu of payment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, it's time for another short break.
Okay.
Stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll continue our interview with Mark Gravelle.
He wrote something to the effect, I'm still trying to look for that sample. I may have it somewhere. I wrote, I feel that my mother dying on Christmas Eve when I was 9 years old really did affect my attitude and outlook towards life, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd digress just a little bit.
Please.
Because I thought of something I wanted to share with you regarding the mother dying when I was 9 on Christmas Eve. When I first came here, my first session with Dr. John Kappas, I gave him a handwriting sample.
Hello, and welcome back to Inside HMI. Joining us today for an in-depth interview, we have HMI instructor Mark Gravelle.
Because a full-page handwriting sample, okay? And so he looks at it, and he turns it upside down, you know, to find affected words and sentences. And in the paragraph where I actually